Welcome to the Weather Farm. We have the details for your forecast as we begin our Friday for this upcoming weekend and as we begin the new week. We're watching an area of disturbed weather that's bringing rain from New York down to Maryland. This is associated with a system that's made its way over the Central Plains through the Ohio Valley and now to the East Coast over the last 48 hours. We expect some heavy amounts of rain with this system as it continues to move to the north and east. Down across the Gulf, we are watching an area that's offshore right now, bringing some heavy storms out in the Gulf. That is going to continue to move towards Mississippi and Alabama on the day Friday into Saturday. It's going to keep that unsettled weather for most of today and tomorrow. Better chances of rain, though, are Sunday and Monday across the southeast. But for most of the United States, we have high pressure from Wisconsin out towards Colorado up to British Columbia and every point in between. There's a small little wave that's moving across northern Manitoba that's bringing some light snow there. It is have a little bit of wind generated with that, but nothing too severe. So let's put our map into motion through the rest of the day on our Friday. And as we watch the map, we're going to see those showers in the Gulf start to move in towards New Orleans. By the time we get to Friday afternoon, even the panhandle of Florida, you could be getting in on some of that precipitation. We're seeing heavy rains. New York City, it's not going to be a great day to be out and about. We're going to continue to watch as we go through the day. That system continue to sit and spin in the northeast. Rain moving onshore into Alabama overnight Friday into Saturday. We're watching an area of precipitation move into the northwest into British Columbia, bringing some higher elevation snows by the time we wake up on our Saturday morning. For our Friday, we really don't have a threat of severe weather anywhere. If there is any chance of severe weather, and it's a marginal risk at that, it's going to be through the Carolinas down through Florida. That is going to be where we might see a severe storm pop. But again, these storms that are out in the Gulf making their way onshore, they're not expected to rise to the severe level. And let's see what's causing all this. So as we look at our 500 millibar chart, we're going to start to see that area of low pressure start to develop by the time we get to our Friday evening across parts of Louisiana. And that low pressure is just going to sit and spin over the weekend as we see a ridge building across the northern plains. So across the northern plains into the Great Lakes, you're going to have above normal temperatures, but this little cutoff low is going to provide instability and unsettled weather for most of the southeast. And we watch the next trough. Again, we talked about this on Wednesday, beginning to dig into the Pacific Northwest. That's going to bring cooler weather to end our weekend across that area. And as we go into next week, we're going to watch that system make its way onshore. We're going to see that by Tuesday, we have a pretty deep trough over Northern California. And normally we watch these to see where they go, but this one's going to take more of a path up through Idaho towards Montana. We like to see storms coming out of Colorado and New Mexico this time of the year. Those are the ones that are more likely to create severe weather for the Central Plains into the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. With this one taking a little bit further northern track, we don't really expect severe weather to be much of a threat, though we could have isolated strong storms across the Dakotas by the time we go into Tuesday and Wednesday. But we're going to watch that system continue to move. And the models really want to wait until about Thursday or Friday as it gets above Minnesota and northeastern North Dakota to really start to intensify this low. And that's something we're going to watch because that could provide some crazy weather for that part of the country as we end next week. But it's this next trough that digs in behind it, that's digging much further deep, that we're going to watch that as we get towards next weekend. Where do we see the possibility of severe weather across the United States? So jumping back to our maps, let's continue to put everything into motion. This is Saturday. Scattered showers across Mississippi and Alabama, down through Georgia. Again, nothing too terribly severe. That system is finally making its way out as it brings heavy amounts of rain to Maine for our Saturday. And across British Columbia, not the best weather to be out and about for the second weekend of May, but it's going to be scattered showers and snow showers in those higher elevations. We're going to continue to watch storms across the southeast. This is where I believe on Sunday we have a better chance of strong storms in the Florida Panhandle through southern Alabama into Georgia as we start to pull a little bit more moisture off of the Gulf and we get those dew points rising across the southern states. Elsewhere, it is pretty quiet. Now, the Northeast, you're going to be pretty cool on your Sundays. We see this trough digging in, so some cooler air is going to spill in to the far northeast. We'll continue to watch that, but we see these storms continuing to fire across the southeast, and then they start to migrate a little bit further north. So we see another area of low pressure start to develop in northwestern Mississippi. It's going to spread rain up into the Tennessee Valley. Out west, we see that low pressure, that trough beginning to dig onshore, bringing snow to the higher elevations of Oregon and California with rain in those lower elevations. And we start to see some precipitation across parts of Idaho and Montana for our Monday. So we're going to continue to watch this. And this is, again, we see that low ejecting out, heavy snow for those mountains, but we really don't see severe weather by the time we get to Wednesday afternoon. We have scattered showers across the eastern third of the United States. Again, due to that cutoff low that's been in the southeast over this weekend, it's going to kind of meander and wobble across the eastern third of the United States. But it's this area out across the Intermountain West. We're going to watch the potential as we go through the day on Wednesday for the possibility of some strong storms developing over the Dakotas. We really don't expect tornadoes or anything of a strong, severe nature, but the possibility is definitely there for one or two of these to really get going and fire some severe weather. We're also going to kind of watch down along the Central Plains. I know this map doesn't show anything right now, but we're going to take a look here. So look at this map. This is the Supercell Composite Index. So when we start to see these yellows start to pop, we start to get those higher Supercell Composite values. And really, the Supercell Composite is a tool that meteorologists use to assess the possibility or the threat of severe weather or tornadoes in a particular area. It combines things like the CAPE values, the storm relative helicities, shear in the atmosphere, the LCL, to determine where do we think that supercells and their development are going to be likely. It's not an exact science. There are some flaws with the methodology, but it kind of gives us an idea of areas to pinpoint and look at over several days and to kind of start alerting people, hey, there's some indications that we might be seeing the possibility of severe weather in your area. So we want to watch and let you know to keep that in your mind. So as we watch this, we go through Friday, Saturday, and this is why I say across the southeast, we're really not going to expect any severe weather. As we get towards Saturday, we really don't see anything flaring up into Sunday, into Monday. But as we get into Tuesday night, into Wednesday, this is why I say we got to watch this area to the south. We saw the storms across the Dakotas Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday with that low pressure that's over Montana making its way to the north and east. But Supercell Composite Index would indicate that the ingredients are present. We just have to have some kind of lifting mechanism to interact with everything else, and we could see some storm development across this area. Not only Wednesday, but as we go into Thursday, we see the same general area, maybe a little north. Into Friday, moving more up towards the Ohio Valley, towards Iowa. And then into Saturday, next weekend. So again, a lot of this is a week out, so a lot can change. But that's why I want to say that we're going to watch this southern Central Plains to the Ohio and Tennessee valleys over the next several days for the potential of severe weather as we get toward the second half of next week. In terms of our temperatures for our Friday, let's take our look at our national outlook. We're seeing warm temperatures across the Central Plains, 70s and 80s. We've been talking about this for days. We've also been talking about the desert Southwest warming up in a big way, temperatures exceeding 100 in many locations. Across the Northeast, though, where that rain is present, and that heavy rain, you're going to have thick cloud cover. We're going to see temperatures held down in the 40s and 50s. New York City, you may only be in the mid-50s for your day on Friday. As we go towards Saturday, we talked about this also on Wednesday. We are concerned with the warming to near 90 degrees of parts of southern Saskatchewan, Montana, especially those mountainous regions where we have some of that snow cap still in place and snowpack. We could see rapid melting, which could lead to some flooding. Across the southeast, we are going to watch temperatures a little bit below normal due to that cutoff low, keeping things a little cooler across the southeast. Saturday, we could see temperatures exceeding 110 in the desert Southwest. Even into our Sunday, the warm areas are going to stay warm that we've been talking about. We start to cool down in the Pacific Northwest. That's that next trough beginning to dig down from the Gulf of Alaska, bringing cooler and unsettled weather to that. As we go into our Monday, we're seeing widespread 90s all the way into southern Manitoba. We're going to watch the Pacific Northwest, and it'll be cooler than normal as we go into our Monday. But as we go into Tuesday, that heat, that core of the heat is really shifting to the east. And now we're focused on Texas. Texas, this could be a first day of widespread 100-degree plus temperatures as we get to our Tuesday. And that warmth continues to surge to the north and east as we see that low pressure. And so it's this warm temperatures, sharp temperature gradient, 45 to 85 across parts of Manitoba, that could set the stage for some severe weather, as well as along down here in the south central part of the plain. And this is something that I want to talk about here is our Drought Monitor Index. Was issued on Thursday, and so it's the data as of Tuesday. So there's always a couple day lag when they issue these every Thursday. This is for the United States. And so we're seeing across the desert Southwest into parts of Texas, we're seeing exceptional drought and extreme drought. That's those reds and those browns that we're seeing. So we really could use some precipitation in this part of the country. Even across the northern plain, we're starting to see areas of severe drought in North Dakota, northwestern Nebraska, southeastern Wyoming as well. And we're seeing severe drought with that tan color. So we've not had the snowpack, we've not had the snowfall or the spring rains across the northern plains. So that's starting to lead to some drought conditions. We expect about another 5 days of lower than normal precipitation for that area. But by the time we get after the 15th of the month, we do expect that pattern to change across this part of the country. From mid-month, from the 15th through the 22nd, the eastern two-thirds of the United States above normal temperatures. From Arizona up through Colorado, up through the Dakotas, we could see temperatures below normal during this time period. And in terms of our precipitation, we have a wide area that is expected to have above normal precipitation for this time period, with the greatest chance of above normal precipitation across parts of Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Out west, we're going to see near below normal precipitation across parts of California, and in the southwest, we're really not seeing a chance seeing above normal precipitation. So that's only going to exacerbate those drought conditions across that part of the country. Taking a look at our temperatures on a region by region basis, we're going to start here in the Northeast. As that rain moves through on Friday, temperatures are going to be held down generally in the 40s and 50s. We start to see warming across Pennsylvania and Ohio into the 60s. Down in Virginia, you're in the 70s, but Maine, you're held in the low 40s with that heavy rain and deep cloud cover taking hold on your Saturday. It's going to be a chilly, raw rain for you. Temperatures do start to moderate just slightly across far northern New England, with temperatures in the 50s for your Mother's Day, 70s and mid-70s starting to make their way up towards the nation's capital. And by the time we get to Monday, we're seeing widespread warmth here across most of the Northeast. Boston, you're going to be in the mid-70s. New York City, you could be in the low 80s. And we're going to see where there's the precipitation across parts of Ohio into West Virginia. That's going to keep your temperatures down into the 60s. Jumping to the southeast, Florida continues to be the warm spot for our Friday. Temperatures in the low 90s. Elsewhere, it's 70s and 80s. But when that rain starts to move on shore, and with that cutoff low on our Saturday, temperatures generally going to be held down in the 50s and 60s across a good portion of the southern states. The cooler temperatures on Sunday will be felt across western Louisiana and southern Arkansas, even into far eastern Texas. But still, low 60s is well below normal for this time of the year across most of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. We start to recover on our Monday with temperatures in the 70s. And as we get towards Tuesday, here comes that warmth as it spreads from Texas. Mississippi, you're warming into the low 80s making their way up into South Carolina. So we make our way over towards Texas in the south central plains. Warm temperatures 70s and 80s, and that tends to be the story as we go through the weekend. We start to see the warmth spreading into Texas on our Monday with widespread 80s and even mid-90s in far southern Texas, even through New Mexico, southeastern Colorado, and western Kansas. But by the time we get to Tuesday, the heat is on. Most of Texas in the 90s and low 100s. Even as we get down toward the border, we can see temperatures approaching 105. Oklahoma, you're going to be in those low to mid 90s as well for our Tuesday. Across the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes, again, a little bit below normal on our Friday, but warm out west with temperatures approaching the mid 80s in southern Minnesota. As we go towards our Saturday, that warmth continues to spread to the east. Nebraska, you're in the mid 80s for your Saturday. As we get to Sunday, the real core of the warmth is going to be above in the northern plains with mid to upper 80s likely in that area. We do have some rain showers going to make their way through the Ohio Valley on Monday. That's going to hold temperatures down just slightly. We could see highs in the 60s where the rain showers are heavier, but then with quick rebound with temperatures in the 70s through most of the Ohio Valley into the Great Lakes. Still out across the plains, it is in the 80s. And let's take a look at that as we go through Friday. As we go through Saturday, again, the warmth across southern Manitoba, Montana, and the Dakotas. And that continues into our Sunday with low 90s present. And we really continue that pattern to start the new work week. And it's not until we get to about Tuesday with the passage of that low pressure system off through parts of Montana that's going to cool temperatures down there into the 50s. But in eastern North Dakota and South Dakota, we're still in the 80s, as well as most of Nebraska. Taking a look at the Southwest, temperatures are very warm across the deserts. 100s are likely for the next several days. And it is not until we get to about Monday when we start to see that trough digging in from the north and west, cooling temperatures down across Northern California into Oregon. And then by the time we get to Tuesday, we see much cooler temperatures across the western half of the United States. Even the deserts, you've cooled down into the 70s and 80s. Looking at the Pacific Northwest, we can really see a warm weekend in store for our Friday. Saturday, we start to see that cooler air moving in towards Seattle, and it takes hold across most of Idaho, Washington, and Oregon by the time we get to Sunday, and that will become the story as we begin our new work week across most of the Pacific Northwest. Moderating slightly, 40s and 50s, even some 60s across parts of British Columbia as we begin the new work week. Well, we thank you for joining us here at the Weather Farm. We hope you have a wonderful Friday. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you real soon.